Day to you all. We've got an awesome webinar happening right now where we're going to talk about how to start a business by buying one, even if you're broke. If you guys are excited for this, drop a 1 in the chat. We're going to make this as interactive as possible. We're going to have a lot of questions throughout. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them throughout the call. A couple things before we get started. I introduced Brandon, what everyone is here for today. We are going to be doing this for about 45 minutes. Then we're going to jump over to the UpFlip Academy. You guys can see it here on my sweatshirt for a private Q&A. So I'm going to drop the sign up link in the chat for all of you to join us there. So without further ado, let me intro myself, and then we will intro Brandon. So I am Ryan Atkinson, the community manager at the UpFlip Academy. You guys may see me dropping chats in there all the time. My voice may sound familiar. I'm also the podcast host and also a guest host for the YouTube channel, which all you guys are very loyal for, so we want to thank you for that. That's really me. Let me turn it over to Brandon because Brandon is better known as Investment Joy. Brandon is an investor and entrepreneur who buys and operates real-world businesses like laundromats, storage units, and real estate. He's grown from a few small rentals to running multiple profitable companies across industries, all while raising 5 kids, which is awesome. You're a dad first. With over 2 million subscribers on YouTube, 220,000 followers on Instagram, Brandon shares the behind the scenes of business ownership to help others start and scale their own ventures. Through his content, consulting, and coaching, he's helped countless aspiring entrepreneurs get their first big break. He's here to share how to start a business by buying one, even if you're broke. Brandon, thank you so much for being here. Super excited to have you on.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I've really enjoyed doing content with UpFlip, and I was asked to do this and figured why not? The more the merrier in business. And if I can help some more people get into owning their own companies, starting their own business, how to, figuring out those key pieces of how to get money, why not? So I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be super good. And viewers, I want to encourage you one more time, drop questions throughout the whole time. I'm going to be monitoring this. So if any question comes up, feel free to drop in the chat and we'll make sure to get that answered for you. I'm dropping the sign up link now, but Brandon, the floor is yours. I'm super excited for this. Let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I could do a pitch real quick, or can I explain my background, or we can go into the slide? Let's do it, yeah. Sure. So my name is Brandon Schlichter. If you're not familiar with me, I go by Investment Joy on social media. I've been in social media for about, it would be, 12 years this year. Most people know me from owning laundromats and car washes and doing money collection videos. Those businesses are just part of what I do. I also own quite a few rentals. I just acquired a large commercial roofing construction firm outside Chicago, Illinois. Just been in business my whole entire life. My upbringing was, not great in terms of money. I do not come from generational wealth. I do not come from a family of money. We were definitely pretty poor growing up, and I have found myself at a point where I'm able to help people talk about investing and try to pay it forward and help save people some of the heartaches and heartbreaks that I've experienced in life and business, and kind of highlight the ups and the downs. I've got these laundromats, these car washes. On one end, I make very good money with these companies, and on the other end, there's a lot of hard work and a lot of things that have to go into the operational aspects of it. And for the most part, I don't want anybody to feel misled or get into a business and realize that it does require work. So, I'm very blessed to be in this point. I've got a couple big things coming up, company-wise, business-wise, that maybe I'll talk about later. But lots of really great things going on. I'm very blessed and thankful to be here.
I love it. Let's dive into it. Super excited for it.
Okay, cool. So in this stream, I'm going to talk about the thing that I'm known for. On one end, it's how to get money for a business. On the other end, it's how to get money when you don't have money yourself. So in my world, I used to work at a warehouse in Groveport, Ohio. I was making $11 an hour. Wanted to get married, and at this point, I'm 21 years old. I wanted to get married, wanted to have a family, wanted to have kids, but at $11 an hour, I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I got into real estate as a real estate agent, helping people sell houses, and I came to the realization pretty quickly, you can't really make a lot of money doing that easily. But I also got to a point where I realized there were no broke landlords that I ever had as a customer. There's 2 people I always like to bring up. One guy is named Joe, and the other guy's name is Bill. Joe was a truck driver, just like my dad was when I was a kid. He worked for GM, General Motors, hauling car parts. And he was a very wealthy real estate investor. He came to my office, wanted to buy a house. I told him, hey, you need to get a mortgage and money together to buy a house. And he showed me he had over $500,000 in his bank account. Bill was a gentleman who was a janitor at Nationwide Children's Hospital up in Columbus. He was a real estate investor too, and he was buying houses for cash. And I just had a hard time understanding how these people, a truck driver and a janitor, could have enough money to go out and buy real estate homes for cash. And they explained to me that they were both in real estate investment. And I struggled so much with, I got to get into real estate. I've got to get into the world of investing. I've got to get in the driver's seat of my own destiny beyond doing commission-based sales and real estate. And it was a situation where in 2012 to 2013, I guess I cracked the code or whatever, and I realized that I didn't have to have the money to go out and get investments. I just had to find people that did. And I found out so quickly that there's so much money out there sitting with different people that they don't know what to do with it. And you fund your businesses, they'll give you loans. But in this case, we're specifically talking about how to use seller financing as a way to go out and acquire properties, essentially turning a business into somebody's retirement program. This is something that I really got heavily into 2017. I had a gentleman tell me, Brandon, you need to go out and start buying properties and businesses and acquire things with full seller finance. And I said, I don't want to do that. That's, when I was a kid, I watched these shows on TV, and there were people selling VHS cassettes or DVDs on how to buy something for nothing. And I just, that's a scam. That doesn't work in real life. And after it was 3 months or so after that gentleman told me that, I closed on an apartment complex for $250. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever thought that somebody wanted to sell an apartment complex, and all I had to do was come up with $250. That was 3 months after somebody told me that. Then 1 or 2 months after that, I bought a house for $250. I did it 2 times in 1 year. And then I ran into a gentleman. I bought an apartment complex and 2 houses for $1,250 a piece. Just absolutely incredible learning about seller financing. So what we're doing in the stream is how to get these things with very minimal money. So okay. And the things that I have found out the hard way is that traditional financing can be restrictive. I have been denied for bank loans probably more than anybody in the chat. Do me a favor. If you guys are on the chat stream right now, I want you to type a number. How many loans have you been denied for? Because I want to compare our numbers real quick, because I'm going to guess I could beat every single one of you in the number of loans that I've been denied on. Because, as a real estate agent on 1099, they don't want to fund me. I'm very aggressive on my taxes. I don't cheat on my taxes, but I'm very aggressive on my expenses. So at the end of the year, I try to minimize my tax liability. That doesn't help you with getting a bank loan. I also don't play the credit card game like a lot of people do. So when I go to a bank, my credit score is not 852. I can't prove income. So I've had very terrible luck working with banks over the course of time. I did not come from a family with wealth. I don't have large piles of cash. Well, I do. I have some cash now. But for the last, 11 years, I haven't had large piles of cash. When I have money, I spend it. I want to buy another house. I want to do something with it. I don't want to keep money in the bank for a rainy day. And the thing that I found is, for the most part, in order to take down deals, you just have to get creative. 2017, I bought, 2 apartment complexes, 4 houses, for very, very minimal money. I ended up buying my laundromat with alternative finance. I put no money down on that my laundromat. So the laundromat that I've got hundreds of millions of views on, I had no money involved in that transaction. I also used creative financing to acquire my my car wash. I used a creative finance strategy to acquire my roofing company. And I've used creative finance just for all sorts of projects. And when I sold my trailer park that's on my YouTube channel. I sold it on Creative Finance. So I have been both a buyer acquiring properties through Creative Finance. I've also been a seller selling people properties on Creative Finance. There's this ecosystem, and I don't have the number to quote for you right now, so it's not on the screen on the slide, but it's something like 1/3 of the entire banking world, the entire loans, finance, money, and stuff like that. It exists outside of banks. And it exists outside of banks between typically just individuals, but no one ever talks about it. So in this stream, my goal is to try and demystify what does that look like? How can you go out and acquire these things with no money? Now, I'm not going to mislead you guys and tell you that, oh, it's just you just do 1, 2, 3 things and you'll get endless creative finance deals and you never have to have money. It will require you to work. But I can tell you that I know the kind of people that watch UpFlip. I know the kind of people that will be on this stream. You are the kinds of people that are willing to work for the money. And if you apply yourself and work and show effort in, you will find more of these kinds of deals than you ever would have thought possible.
Brandon, we do have a question already in the chat that I think is relevant to what you've talked about. And community members, viewers, please drop all the questions. I promise I'm going to get to them. This one comes from Joe Black, and you might cover this, but in case not, let's ask it now. When buying these businesses / franchisees, what's the importance of you, the business owner, owning the real estate, the building on the land on which the business is situated?
Great. That's a phenomenal question.
Great question, Joe. Keep them coming.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you got a question like that, guys? Post them in the chat. I also see the numbers. I've beat every single one of you. You've only been denied by 1 or 2 bank loans. I've been denied on dozens. On that, I want you to think about this because I have so many people that they watch my content and they know that I own the real estate for my laundromats, my car washes, my self-storage facility. I own a very reasonable amount of real estate. So then they watch my content and they assume that they have to own the real estate. But I want to ask you a question, Joe Black. If you leased a laundromat, let's say, for 30 years, which I see 30-year leases out there, and it does not have some sort of crazy clause that the rent goes up 5% every year, what's the difference between having a 30-year lease and a mortgage that's a 30-year payment that you're probably never going to pay off? I mean, I run into I don't know that I've ever run into anybody that has had a 30-year mortgage, paid the minimum payment, and then got to the point they've ever paid it off. Maybe someone here in the chat, and you can let me know that you've seen somebody do that. I've never seen anybody actually pay off a 30-year loan, making the regular payment on it. So from my perspective, if you've got a location that's a good lease, a very long-term lease, and they're not jacking up the rates every year significantly or anything, some increases every year or every 5 years are common. But from my perspective, there's not much of a difference between that and a mortgage on a property. And I've seen people, I know of a laundromat right now. It's in Franklin County, Ohio. I'm not going to say which burb of Columbus it is, but it's in Franklin County, Ohio. It's a commercial business. It was leased up in 2015, and the lease doesn't expire till 2045. It is currently rented for half of what that market is worth. Franklin County is a growing area. They only pay like $1,500 a month on a commercial storefront. It should be worth $3,500, $4,000 a month. By the time 2045 rolls around, till when they start getting close to the date that the lease is going to end, that lease is probably going to be worth $10,000 a month. So they could sell their commercial business right now, and someone will absolutely unequivocally pay a premium to just acquire that lease. So, it's kind of this, I want to give you this mentality shift. You don't have to own the real estate for the business. I talked to so many people that get tied up in that. So, I want you to think about that. So, keep them coming. If you have any other questions or you have a follow-up question, feel free to ask. So anyway, I've used this kind of financing for all these different properties, and I've helped quite a few people close creative finance deals. I got one gentleman down in the Nashville, Tennessee area. He's on car wash number 4. He's currently negotiating a package of 3 or 4 more car washes, and he has creatively financed every single one of them. He just acquired a very high volume car wash location for $2,000. And it's got good equipment. It'll last another 10 years. So what we're going to learn today is how I structure creative deals, some real world examples that I have, how to negotiate win-win terms, because I don't want you guys to rip off other people, because I'm going to show you how to finance and structure these deals. I also don't want you to rip people off. So I want to talk about how to generate win-win terms so that everybody walks away from a creative finance deal feeling like they won, and then what it's actually going to take to work. Because once again, there's never a free ride. When you acquire something with no money, something else has to give, and the deal is you're going to have to work for it. But the big thing is, when you get in these businesses, whether it's a laundromat, a car wash, or real estate, it's a big money deal. When I train people or talk to people, I'm like, I want your car wash or laundromat to make $1 million. So if you would think about it, anybody in the chat, feel free to tell me, how many hours would you be willing to put into one thing, into a deal that's going to make you $1 million? I run into a lot of people who are scared to spend 50 hours, 100 hours, 200 hours in talking and negotiating creative finance deals. And I've sat back and talked to people. I said, this deal's going to be worth $1 million. How can you put some time into it? And, I've done, Simon down in Nashville with his creative finance car wash deals. He's, that whole package is probably worth $3 or $4 million right now. He's got 1,500 hours on it. You guys want to sit up there and do the math and tell me in the chat how much, 1,500 hours at $3 million worth of value? It's a lot of money. And he only started this desire to acquire businesses. And we started talking 2023, I think. So it's 2 years. So, my core strategy is do these kinds of deals without bank loans, because I asked you guys, how many of you have been denied a bank loan? I'm sure a lot of you guys have. I have. When you learn creative finance and you learn how to structure deals with sellers, you're not dealing with a bank loan officer. You're not dealing with a property underwriter. You're not dealing with a guy that's going to, a lot of times, even look at your credit score. They're going to sit down across a table from you and you're going to hash things out. And it's not going to be with a bank loan officer. Sometimes they might involve a lawyer. A lot of times they don't, or have very minimal lawyer involvement. So you're actually dealing with human beings and not software algorithms and loan underwriting scenarios. So that's the reason I push this so much. And you can generate creative terms. I've got one of my acquisitions, and for the finance guys that are in business, I acquired it, creative finance, seller paid note. It's a 20-year mortgage on the property, 4% down. It's like 4.2% down, 20-year amortization, 3% interest. That's a deal that I face-to-face negotiated with a guy on terms. There is no bank in the United States that will give you a 3% mortgage right now for 20 years with only 4.25% down. It's not going to happen. I have friends that have done multiple 0% interest loans and 0% interest deals. It all comes down to what you have. Okay, someone said 1,500 hours. It's $2,000 an hour. Yeah, and $3 million is the value that's at today. It's in these car washes are in Nashville, Tennessee, where the value goes up 5% per year. So 5% per year on $3 million is he's making also an additional $150K a year.
Brandon, there's also another question I love here from the Gaming Outpost. And guys, again, keep the questions coming. This is a great question. So this comes from the Gaming Outpost. I have equity / cash / credit, but everything seems so inflated right now. What do you do in these situations? Do you wait it out?
Okay. I would say the problem or the thing is you have to learn to negotiate the right way. Now, if we're talking like stocks and ETFs and equities right now, I would agree with you. Yes, things are overinflated. But when it comes to business acquisition and deals, I don't think anything's overinflated. Now, having said that, I've directly had the president of the Coin Laundry Association, Brian Wallace, tell me that between me and Cody Sanchez, we have increased the cost of every laundromat in the United States severely. But I can tell you right now, if you are in New England, I would be more than happy to send a garbage company to you. The deal came across my desk this morning. The business effectively is free. You just have to buy the equipment. It's been around for many, many years. It makes millions of dollars a year. And the cost to acquire it is to just take over the equipment cost. 100% of the purchase price was FF&E. So that was a deal that came across my desk this morning. That I'm just throwing that out there because I saw it this morning. The problem is you have to look through deals. I mentioned this on a podcast I was on yesterday. I did the books on a company that was bringing in $96 million a year as a trucking firm. At the end of the day, it only made $2 million. It wasn't worth what they were asking for it, so I did not buy it. I run into all these deals on the market, and I run into these big number deals, and they look good on the surface, and they're not good. But you have to be able to look at opportunities at scale. And it's like when I bought my roofing firm, we looked at dozens of companies. Actually, we looked at thousands of companies, and then we started the filtration process, got it down to a dozen companies, and I picked the best one that we could find in the United States. And it's not like there weren't other great businesses for sale. The problem is when you are doing things other people are doing the same way, you end up getting less than desirable returns. But I can guarantee you that if you truly search and get in depth into your business and acquisition search, you can find absolutely phenomenal deals.
And so then we have a question going right off of that, really. This comes from Benjamin Verschel. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. How do you get deals across your desk?
To be honest with you, I would say at this point, 70 to 80% of the deals that I'm getting right now are because of my YouTube channel and my Discord channel. So I've got a private, I say private Discord, but you can find the link to it pretty easy. But I've got a Discord channel. People just send me deals all day long. On one end, a lot of people are asking for money. So they're going out and talking to people all the time. And I'm at a point, I'm overwhelmed with deals. So you guys want a deal? If you guys have money to spend, just go to my website, get a hold of me, investmentjoy.com. Do the form on there, get a hold of me. Because I've got more deals than I know what to do with. Just before I jumped on here, I was talking to a guy. He's going to lock the deal down because it's a great laundromat here in Central Ohio, next to where they're building the Anduril Arsenal One multi-billion-dollar drone factory. It's a laundromat that makes $250,000 a year. Makes $250,000 a year. The seller is asking $250,000 for it, and he will finance it. I think he will finance 80% of the acquisition. So you've got to come up with $50,000 to get into a laundromat deal, and it's a good location and a fastly growing. We got Intel coming to town. We got Anduril. We got LG Battery, LG Chem. I'm in a good growing market. I still find deals, but there's a lot of people out there searching. So when I talk about this stuff, the strategies that I tell people about are land contracts, master leases, purchase money mortgages, and subject to finance. Now, out of those, subject to finance is probably my least favorite. I can talk about it in a theoretical way because I have not done subject tos, but I've done tons of land contracts, tons of master leases, and purchase money mortgages. And the thing is, these strategies get you 100% of the money to acquire a property, because in every single case, what I want you to do, and when you think about this, there are so many people out there that have built a business, they have built up a real estate portfolio, they would like to sell it, but they also have no money coming in once it sells. Yeah, they'll get a lump sum payment, but there's a lot of people out there that they don't want to sell their $2 million company because their tax basis on that $2 million company is going to be probably 30. Now, I'm no CPA, but this is my back of the napkin math. When I talk to CPAs, 39.4% taxation when they sell the company off. And if they've been very aggressive on their taxes, they could pay another 28% in depreciation recapture. So I've run into people that have sold a $2 million company, and at the end of the day, they walk away with less than $1 million. So there's people out there that would prefer not to pay the government over $1 million on their $2 million business, and they will take payments for it. They will take some money up front, and then they'll finance it through a purchase money mortgage where the seller becomes the bank, and they take payments over the course of time. And with a purchase money mortgage, they can sell the note, the mortgage, to a bank or a private investor and go on it with payments. There's so many ways to structure deals. Here in Ohio, gosh, up to the 1980s, the majority of homes did not involve banks. They involved land contracts where someone was selling a property to somebody else on payments. It's a very clear legal structure. And then we've got these master leases that I love talking about. They're not super popular on social media for some reason, but I love talking about them because it's very easy to talk to people if I want to lease your business. I want to rent your house. I want to rent these things, but I want total control of it. That's called a master lease. If you have somebody that's involved in a trust, maybe they own great grandma owns their house, and it's in a trust. They use a master lease to rent the house off grandma, and you retain the ability to sublease and do whatever you want to with a master lease. There's so many options out there for properties and businesses to acquire them on payments or with minimal money down. And once again, with all of these different things, you're doing it based on sitting down and talking to another human being, not a bank finance person.
Brandon, could I ask one question here?
Sure.
Kind of going back on like, how do you find deals? If someone like doesn't have that Discord community, but they're like, Brandon, I really want a deal. Like, what's like advice you'd give to someone starting at like ground zero? This comes from Samuel and Joe. So,
sure.
Like ground zero, no Discord community, deals aren't coming to you. How do you go out?
Number one, I will recommend every single one of you start finding all the rich people in your community, and you do that by finding your local investment clubs. And I don't care where you live in the United States, there is an investment club within. Okay, maybe if you're in Alaska, you do not have an investment club within 30 miles of you. But if you live in the United States of America, there is going to almost assuredly be a investment club within 30 miles of where you live. And I would start talking to those people there, the people that have money. And network with them and talk to them about what are they dealing with. The majority of business owners in the United States are getting ready to retire. And a lot of them have no one to take the business over. They don't know what it's worth. They don't know about their tax implications. And you've got to go and connect with them. I know a gentleman here in town. He's probably bought the absolute best business in terms of cost. All he did was go walk up and down Main Street of Circleville, Ohio, which I live in a town of 13,000 people. And he knocked on every single door or went in every single business and said, would you sell to me? And he walked into the sign company that manufactured all of the street signs. So like, Main Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street. It was this little hole in the wall sign company that made all of the road signs for multiple cities in the state of Ohio. It was just in this little store. No one knew it was there. And he went into them and he said, hey, would you be interested in selling your company? He just went door to door knocking on businesses. And they said, you know what? We have to sell by tomorrow. We're going to get on an airplane. We were just going to have the trash company come and take all of our equipment that manufacture these signs. If you can come up with $10,000, I'll sell you the company. And this gentleman, he actually works for me now. This is like it's probably 15 years ago. He bought the company for $10,000. And if my rumor mill was right, the first year they did $450,000 in street signs, just because they weren't afraid to go out and ask people. And I said earlier, you're gonna have to work for all this stuff. And in Bill, his name's Bill. In Bill's case, he had to go knock on doors in Circleville, Ohio, and ask them to sell their business. And I'm not saying you have to knock on people's doors, but you're going to have to get yourself out there and talk to people. You can get on Biz Buy Sell or Transworld or these business brokerage websites, and you can talk to people that way. I prefer to go into a community or target market and just talk to people. On your screen right now is my laundromat. Guess how I got that deal? $70,000 seller carry, $40,000 of hard money, 0%, zero money out of pocket. It was semi-off market. It was listed by a real estate company. It had been on the market for a year. They removed it from the market, and I kind of knew the guy, and I gave him a call and said, hey, you own the Trippy's Laundromat on Walnut Street in Chillicothe. You want to sell it to me? Absolutely, Brandon. I had it listed with XYZ real estate agent. They couldn't get any offers on it. What do you want to do? Yeah, I had it listed for $135,000. I said, tell you what, I'll give you 50 grand cash, or I'll give you more than that if you take it on payments, if you finance it for me. And he came back first, 2 days after I told him that. He said, tell you what, I want $85,000 total, but if you can come up with $15,000, I'll sell it to you on payments for $70,000 on a seller carry. So I called up a friend of mine who wanted to have some skin in the game on a laundromat. And I said, hey, can I borrow 40 grand off of you? I'll give you 9% interest. And he sent me $40,000. So that was $15,000 down payment. $25,000 to renovate the laundromat because it was a dump when I bought it. But it had 2 apartments upstairs, and they were both rented for $1,000 a month. So the location, even though the laundromat was toast, the 2 apartments upstairs were already making $1,000 a month. My mortgage payment to the seller on this property was $567.25 per month. I think that's the exact number that I was paying him on payments. And within 5 years, I had to go to a bank and refinance the money out. So that's how I did that specific deal. I was aware of the real estate listings, but I didn't want to buy on the market. I wanted to go straight to the horse's mouth. And once it dropped off the market, I was able to do that. So
Brandon,
that's how this deal came.
Could we do like a rapid fire? We had like 3 questions coming that I
absolutely.
really want to hit on, but I want to be cautious of time. And everyone, again, like I'm dropping the link down below. We're going to do 30 minutes of questions after in our private community, so make sure you sign up there. But if we could do 3 rapid fire questions that came in, that'd be great. This one comes from Sinette. I hope I'm saying that right. Do you acquire businesses that you don't travel to or aren't somewhat local, especially properties?
So I'm acquiring right now a trailer park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's going to be totally remotely managed. I have found out now that partnering with people is very, very important once you want to acquire businesses or real estate in a remote location. So I'm acquiring that. Those guys, the guys that I'm partnering with on the trailer park, they are former military operators. They were in the logistics wing of the armed services. Great guys at managing people and assets. I am not that organized in my thought process, but they are. So I'm partnering with them. So they're going to run the logistics operations, and I'm just kind of the guy that with management experience and real estate experience. For my commercial roofing firm in the Chicago area, I spend 3 or 4 days there per month. What I did was I found a great guy, good ethical person, known him for 6 years. Really, he's not a person like a personal friend from my childhood. He's a guy I met on the internet, and we've just been internet friends for 6 years. And I told him, whenever I buy a company, you're going to run it for me. And we bought this roofing. I bought this commercial roofing firm with the understanding that he would go out and he would run the day-to-day operations. Meanwhile, I help him remotely manage it, number one, and then I come and help with the work on the side. So those partnerships for remote operations have been very, very vital.
Cool.
But the question that you also have to ask yourself is, what are you bringing value-wise to the deal? And you have to bring something value-wise. No one will work for free, and no one will work for free, especially if they feel like you're doing nothing. So that's going to be a word of caution there. You need to bring something to the table. And even for those of you that are starting off, there is some sort of skill that you can bring. You can pick up the phone and call people and ask them if they'll sell their business. You can send a text message out and ask them if they'll sell. Well, that was the first question. What's the second
First question. Well, we're going to make this like Fan Blitz. If you guys are familiar with the YouTube channel, we do a lot of Fan Blitz questions, so real snappy. The next one comes from Garrett Schill. Kind of going off of that, do you need to have any skills / abundance of knowledge in the business you're acquiring?
You either need knowledge in the business you're acquiring, or you need general business experience. If you don't have those skill sets, you need to go get it. And my recommendation for you right now is just find somebody in the approximate field that you want to be in and just go work for them for free.
Love it.
We are in a shortage of people that are willing to work. And I can tell you right now, if you go find any business in any segment right now and you offer to go help them out for free, even part-time, they're going to say yes. This is kind of a strategy if you want to acquire a business with government financing, I use government financing on my roofing company. We did government finance plus creative finance to get the deal done. I had to prove that I had business experience in running a commercial roofing firm, which I'd never done that before, but I was able to take my experience from running my real estate company, and that helped me apply for the government money. When it comes to getting those skill sets, though, just ask around and people. You can do a lot of research online right now between YouTube videos and going to like private groups, private communities like on Facebook to talk to people with those skill sets. But there's a lot of people out there that will let you job shadow them right now. Almost really everybody will say yes.
I love it. Next question comes from just X. So I don't know if this is like Elon Musk. Hello, Elon. I'm totally just kidding. Laundromats, what areas do you typically target? Are there any outliers that narrow it down?
I would say the number one thing that I want to look for in a laundromat is a laundromat in an area or a community where there's not a significant presence of competition. I run into a lot of people that they find a laundromat, they think it's a good deal, and then there's somebody that built a $3 million laundromat right next door to it. That is something that I would say I would be very cautious and aware that that can be an issue. Number one. Number two is you need to make sure that there's enough people in the community for your laundromat. I don't know how many laundromats I've looked at in towns of 500 people, and unless there's extravagant vacation rentals and stuff, people coming from out of town, those aren't good deals either. The rule of thumb is you need 10,000 people in a community to support a laundromat. Um, you also need the location to be mixed in terms of the types of people out there. You don't want to go into an area where all the houses are $1 million houses. They don't need coin operated laundromat. They do need wash, dry, fold, and home pickup and delivery. The home pickup and delivery segment for the laundromat world is growing by leaps and bounds every year. So you could get a laundromat in a more affluent area where coin operated laundry is not nearly as big as home pickup and delivery is. That's a strategy, but I really like the idea of only looking at locations that have a minimum of 10,000 people per laundromat. So if you have a location where there's 3 laundromats and there's 20,000 people in town and you want to build laundromat number 4, you're at only an average of 5,000 people for that laundromat. So you're going to do less than average. So then you need to get yourself a heck of a deal. A lot of people I run into, they do not get heck of deals, and then they don't do very well with them. So
cool. Yeah, that was a gem. So take notes of that one. That was a really nice breakdown right there. So yeah, let's keep howling ahead here, and everyone keep dropping questions.
Yeah,
we'll get to them when we can.
I'll try and answer all of them.
Yeah, and
so
again, we are going to jump over to the academy after this. So if we can't answer it now, we will answer it later. Brandon, take it away.
Yep. So that was my laundromat deal. This is my car wash deal. We did $604,000 in seller carry. I had a $40,000 down payment. I put $20,000 in immediate renovations, like installing credit card readers, painting the place, making it look nicer. 3% loan, fully amortized, 20 years. It was off market. I knew the pastor of a church here in Circleville. The pastor of the church knew that I was looking for another business to buy. I was chomping at the bit. I got this laundromat. I want to buy something else. He came to me and said, Brand, I know a guy that has some car washes. He's looking at selling them. He will take payments on them to an extent, but you need some money. And then we spent 2 months in due diligence because I've never run a car wash before. I barely even used a car wash before I bought a car wash. So I know that we just had a question of how much experience do you have to have. I am the kind of guy that will jump into a business deal without looking at all. I'm not saying that's a great thing, but I am a guy that rolls with the punches. I do have a buddy of mine that owns the car washes with me. He is not that kind of person. He's an engineer at a nuclear facility in Southern Ohio. And he is not the person that just jumps into, he's becoming more that way now, but he was not the kind of guy that would just jump into a deal. So we're a really good partnership because I counteract his not willingness to jump into things. And between both of us, we've taken these car washes and we have increased the revenue on them substantially. And we've been able to take business from a lot of large competitors, even like private equity firms. So we've done pretty good on that. So that's pretty cool. And then here's the other deal. This is the house that I got on Walnut for $250. I took over their mortgage. It was kind of like a sub-2 deal where you take over somebody else's mortgage. But like when you watch content online that talks about sub-2 deals, they have you put the property in a trust, which I don't personally agree with that. I don't like doing it. This is a Brandon thing. I am not a professional attorney, a lawyer. I'm not a professional tax guy. Your mileage may vary on the advice that I give you. Through this whole stream, what I've said before, what I'm saying now, I'm just a professional nothing, but I don't like doing sub-2 deals. But this is what would be a perfect sub-2 deal. So instead, I do something called a master lease. I lease the property, I take over all the ownership aspects of it, and then I do something called an option agreement that says I want to purchase this property for whatever you owe on the mortgage. And then I gave them I paid them $250 in a check as an option fee. Because especially in the state of Ohio, you have to pay somebody something for the right to take over the real estate on an option. So I paid them $250. My lawyer said I had to. It was a 20-year loan with a local bank that, once again, I did not qualify for this loan. They did. They got this loan in 2014 at 6% interest. So I took over the loan. They had missed 2 or 3 payments by that point. The bank was not happy with them. They also missed a tax payment, and I won't say, they had leased their home to some tenants that were selling some not exactly legal substances out of the house. So those were three pain points that they had with this property, and I bought it for $250. I called the bank. I called the treasurer that they hadn't paid taxes to. I said, hey, listen to me. I'm an experienced real estate agent. I'm going to take care of this. Don't foreclose on me. Don't take me to tax lien sale. Don't do any of this stuff. You'll get your money once I evict this tenant. So I took the tenant to court. We won super fast. I had documented what was going on with the property. They were fine. The court was fine with it. I kicked them out. We rented this place for great money. Made enough money off the rental to pay the taxes, renovate the property, and pay the mortgage. So I held the property for 3 years, and then I sold it for $135,000. So I essentially rented a place and then flipped it and sold it for $135,000 off of that $250 option fee. And I've done several of these. I don't even know what the next slide is, but
yeah. Brandon, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, this comes from the community. So this is Life on Edge, I want to say. Okay. I love this question, tactical question here. We could see a success story come from this. I was contacted by private money lender with fairly decent interests. I'm starting from zero. Would this be a great foot in the door?
It could be if they're legitimate. I run into a lot of people that are running private money scams and private lender scams. I would highly recommend that you check their license number and that you get referrals, find referrals for this money source to see what they're willing to do. Now, there are plenty of private money lenders out there. I know a lot of them. And all of the good ones I have got, not from searching on the internet, but from recommendations from other real estate investors. I guess I've got a couple that are from recommendations of real estate investors I met online. But that's how I vet my source, whether it's a contractor, whether it's a money source, whether it's a bank for the most part. I make sure that somebody else is using them and I have good feedback. Because there's so many people out there that are broke, they don't have any money, they're willing to work for it, and you run into a private money lending scam. That is the harshness of it. It's the reality of it. But if you can find some good third-party sources for feedback, then you can find the legitimate ones.
Great.
There's lots of legitimate ones. So, all right. Are there any other questions you want me to go over, Ryan?
There's a lot of great questions in the chat. I just want to be cautious of time, and again, we are doing that private Q&A. We'll ask one more here. AM has asked 2 questions, so let's ask one of AM's. Thank you for these questions. Let's ask this one. Is it worth buying another farm to extend my dad's or building another commercial shed, as the initial one we just got now makes around $85K yearly in income?
Okay. I would, you need to look at the market. If you're buying farmland, you need to figure out what's the appreciation on it. Do you want appreciation or do you want active income? You're making 85,000 pounds a year, which is pretty solid. It sounds like that's like 100,000 US.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, I don't know what the cost is to buy the other farm or what the cost is to build the commercial shed. So you just have to look at the numbers and figure out what you're comfortable with. It's nice to hear that you're in a position that you have the option, but that's a decision that only you can make. That's not a decision that I can make for you as a guy in central Ohio. So,
but you have a lot of experience, Brandon. Let's ask one more question before we keep going. So this one comes from Samuel Bello. Hello, Samuel. What percentage of your acquisitions are with a partner compared to individually? That's a great question.
I would say right at this second, it's 50-50 between a partner and just me and myself. Going forward, to be honest with you, 100% of my acquisitions are going to be with a partner. I have found that if I have good partners on a deal, I work a lot less. And I've run into this problem where I run into a lot of people that would rather have 100% of something that has no value than they would 50% of something that has a lot of value. I have seen people shoot themselves in both feet figuratively because they did not want to let anybody come in and partner on a deal. Now, a lot of partnerships do go bad, so you really need to find people with a good moral character that are ethical and they're honest to you. Don't deal with people that are not those things. But what happens is a lot of people say, I have to have 100% of everything. Now, in my case, a lot of these deals I'm getting into, I'll be the one ponying up most of the money, or I'll be ponying up most of the financing for it. So they have to work for their partnership money, but I'm fine with giving somebody, 30, 40, 50% ownership of a company if they do all the work or the majority of the work. So that for partnerships, I'm looking at doing mostly those. And the thing is, when I've had been blessed to have the opportunity here recently to talk to people that are much, much higher net worth than I am, people that are in the high 8 figures, low 9 figures. Every single one of them has a partner or multiple partners. No one does it alone. And even though even these multi-billionaires, I think that if you really look at their stories, they've got good strategic partners on them. So um, so that's been very, very a big thing that I have found. Any other questions?
We'll answer this one by N. Wilt. I think it's a good question because a lot of people are going to question, should I do this solo? Should I get a business partner? I know I've been through this as well. So I feel for everyone that's on this journey. How do you find a business partner to work with who's good? Let's put it that way.
not a scumbag. And I will be very clear to you guys. I have lots of scumbag partners. I like if you watch on my channel, there's been points where I've stopped posting content. I had about $1 million taken from me over the past 6 years. So I've had partners and people involved in my business that were terrible, awful, evil human beings. But I can tell you what I have learned now the hard way, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but I'm a heck of a lot better than I used to be, is I sit down and I ask people what their goals are and where they spend their time on. What are your goals? What do you want to do with money? What do you want to do with your life? Where are you headed? And how much time are you spending on these things? I vet people with, I want to see their moral compass. I want to know what they're actually really about. That is on the surface. And I'm so blessed to have a 60-something-year-old lady that's my assistant upstairs. She's been working in human resources her whole entire life. She's been in human resources longer than I've been alive, almost as long as I'm alive. I was born in 85. She got in human resources in 87. So she's been dealing with people her whole professional career. And the thing that she has told me that has also bumped up what I do significantly is she said, if someone cannot be trusted with something small, they can't be trusted with something large. So she very routinely, when we're looking at a hire or somebody, she'll give them a super small task. And it is insane how well this works. Hey, can you go do this for me? You're coming into an interview today or an appointment. I need you to go pick up a bag of ice from a Speedway. We're going to have some drinks here at the office, and can you get me a bag of ice? I'll pay you when you get here. But can you do that for me? And she'll ask these really. I never had. I didn't realize this for the first year of her working for me. She would give people that she was vetting for me these little tasks just to see if they would do it or they would be honest about it. And she, as time's gone on, she said, I can't trust them with a $2 bag of ice down at the gas station. You can't trust them with a job that does X, Y, Z. So you do have to vet your partnerships. But for me, it's like if you start apply those things and you look at people that have a good moral compass and they're ethical, you'll be fine. The problem is when you start looking for partners that only care about money, then they will run you over in a heartbeat to get more of the money. So that's something to be very aware of.
That's super good. That is very, very good advice there. Yeah, let's keep going. Jose, I'm going to drop the Academy link here below. Everyone, this will be here. How do you join? www.upflip.com/academy and get signed up for free there.
Cool. Awesome. My YouTube questions are frozen right now. That's
You're good. I'm monitoring them. We're covering all of them, so yeah, we should be good.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So for my real world case studies, do we have any questions real quick though? Okay. I think it's working again. Do we have any questions, or do you mean continue on with this?
I didn't know you were asking me. I'm sorry. We are all good. Yeah, we can
Okay,
keep going.
cool. So in my real world case studies, I've got a laundromat, minimal cash in, great return on investment. The car wash has, was very creative terms. The growth has been phenomenal. Rentals, I've got great recurring cash flow with seller cooperation. To get these deals, you do have to learn to negotiate with people. You need to talk to them about favorable terms, and you need to sit down and role play these questions with yourself. Why would I give you 3% loan? Why would I finance this property? Why would I do any of these things for you? You have to sit down and work through that of how will you answer those questions. Because I do so much training and coaching, and when people start getting pushback, they don't know what to say. And I ask them, well, have you ever thought about it from their perspective? Well, no, I've never done that before. So you do have to be able to talk to people about how to get favorable terms. You have to figure out what the seller cares about. Do they care about time? Do they care about money? Do they want something they can give their kids? I've run into a lot of sellers that they have kids that are not good with money. That's why they're not giving them the farm. And you can negotiate once you understand with how sellers care about, how about I give you a purchase money mortgage for your farm? This way you're going to get a payment of $2,500 a month for the next 35 years. And that is something that when you pass away, because everybody dies, unfortunately, your kids and their grandkids even will receive these checks for the next 35 years. Is that something that would be beneficial to you? So once you understand what they're concerned about, you can give them something that they need. And then you can handle the pushback when they object to the $2,500 a month. Maybe you need to come up $250 a month or whatever. You need to be able to negotiate with people. But once again, realize that you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with banks and underwriting software. You need to be flexible. You need to be human-centered because you're dealing with other human beings, and they have goals and they have lives and they have dreams and aspirations. Even if they're 90 years old, they still have desires and dreams. And you need to make sure that you're navigating successful negotiations with those people. And if you do that, you can generate a win-win to where they feel like they are $1 million after they've talked to you, and they are so thankful that they sold their car wash to you with no money down. I don't want you guys, anybody walking away from these deals feeling like they got ripped off and taken advantage of. You can have a good relationship with your sellers and your people. I know I do these streams, I do these shows all the time. They say they're worried or concerned that the deals aren't real. They have a hard time believing that there's properties and people out there. You need tons of experience. It only works for other people. The big thing is, and I hear these questions and these statements all the time, but the reason you don't see tons of people with them is the fact that they require work. Here's some pictures of what I have to deal with. Here on my voicemail to my car wash, I'm at your car wash on North Court Street and it quit working, and I wanted to get the number off the door and I can't get my effing vehicle out of here. I had this picture right here. A ceiling collapsed on one of my houses I got for, I think that was the $13,000 house. I could be wrong. That could be one of the $250 ones. I had this bottom right one here, I think is the one where the guy was selling the substances out of a bedroom. We had somebody ram an SUV through my car wash. We have people, the lady up here, we just trespassed her with the, had to call the cops on her. This is a nasty text message because they thought that I was scamming them, trying to send them a refund for the car wash. All this stuff requires work. And you have to be intentional about it, and you have to actually go out there and talk to business owners, and you have to talk to people that have money. You have to go out and spend hundreds of hours, dozens of hours, 50, you have to spend actual real time being intentional to get these deals. Way too many people I talked to. I talked to one guy. I talked to two guys today, and I've gone over this same exact pitch, this same exact presentation with them on my channel or my Discord or something where I've talked to them, and they said, I'm having a hard problem doing this, Brandon. I said, how many people have you called today? Well, none. How many people called this week? Well, none. How many people called this month? I called one. You know how many people I have to call to get a deal? You know how many times I've talked to people to get a deal? Everybody loves looking at my laundromat. Everybody loves watching me at my car wash and me going and getting quarters from my machines. But there was a lot of work that was behind the scenes that I had to apply to get up to that point. And that's why these things are out there and available to you because you have to be the kind of human being that will apply the time. And I know for me, as poor as I grew up, was way more than happy to spend the time rather than my own money out of pocket to acquire these deals. What it takes you to build a skill set, and that you can only build a skill set by educating yourself, learning, and spending time on it, going out, being persevering by being both patient, because it's going to take time, and practicing it, doing it over and over and over again. I don't know how many people I've talked to. They're like, Brandon, how do you do a podcast? I would be scared to death. Oh, I was scared to death on the first 2 or 3, and now this is podcast live stream number 852. I've spoken in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with seminars and events and stuff. It's like, oh, the first time sucks. The second time's better, and the third time's better, and then eventually you get used to it and you can talk. You can do well. You have to be the kind of person that can build trust with people. If you come off like a sleazy car salesman, or you are a person that is not ethical, does not have morals, you're not going to do well in this. You have to be able to be creative in your thinking. You have to have persistence. It's just going to take time, and you're going to have to pitch to a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people. I talked about Simon. I've got people I've helped laundromats and car washes. And we've all learned a lot. I'm not sure, honestly, all I had on this slide.
I do have a question for you, Brandon, going off of negotiation, and we are going to have to wind this down here pretty soon to jump over to the Academy. But this question comes from Aaron Rasmussen. Hello, Aaron. I hope you're doing awesome. Yeah. How do you bridge the gap between the seller's asking price and the property's actual value? For example, if the seller wants $800,000, but it's only worth $500,000. Great question.
The big thing is having that conversation with them. I like sitting down, and I think that the Academy, shout out to the UpFlip Academy. I think somewhere there's a loan calculator in there. And with that loan calculator, I would recommend that you sit down, figure out what the payment is on $800,000 and show them whether you're going to make money or not. Because if at the end of the day, you show them that the mortgage payment or the loan payment on it's going to be, $100,000 a year, and it only makes $100,000 a year, and you are not going to make any money on it, they need to understand that's not going to make money. And my favorite response, because I've talked to too many people, they come back and they say, well, if you would do this, this, and this, you'll make so much more money in the company. That's great. Why don't you do it? And I'll pay $1 million for it, because then it will be worth what you're asking. It'll be worth more than what you're asking. But the reality is, I know that sounds, kind of offstandish, but as I coach and talk to sellers, it's like, look, if these were easy things to do, you should have done them. I know for a fact they're not going to be easy. So that's where why my offer is what it is. I think those are great ideas, Mr. Seller, but it will take me 3 years to implement them, and it will come at a high cost of both my time and my money. So that's why the offer is $500,000. So, generally, Aaron, that's how I would offer it.
Super good. We've got a few minutes left, Brandon. We'll close this out, and then, we'll jump over to the Academy. Listeners, I'm going to encourage you one more time here. It'll probably be 3 more times. Go to www.upflip.com/academy. The link has been in the description here, and sign up, because after this, we're going to do a private Q&A where every question will get asked until we reach a time limit. So yes. I'm going to encourage you guys to do that. But, Brandon, let's round this one out.
Yep. Yeah. If you have any questions, I answer any of your questions. I've done my best to answer as many questions as I have on here, but I love answering your questions. I want to help you guys as much as I can, because, I believe me, it feels like it wasn't that long ago where I had no money whatsoever. I felt like I had very minimal experience. And, just a few years after that point where I felt like I had nothing, I bought my first rental properties. I've shared my story on multiple podcasts and stuff. I went from 0 to 18 rentals and $400,000. Well, it's $400,000 in money that I got from private investors that I'd never met. But we had acquired over $1 million in just like two and a half years. So these things, once you understand what it takes, you can turn around so quick. It's amazing.
Amazing. And we just got a question in the chat from Toronto Scope. This is more for UpFlip, so I apologize, Brandon. We're going to give you the stage back in the private community. How often do you have these live streams? So these are going to be happening a lot more. Our next one is actually June 12th. So make sure to check out that as it is upcoming. But we've reached our time limit. This has been amazing. Now, as I've been saying, we are going to dive into the Academy where we're going to do a private Q&A for all Academy signups. So join the Academy, www.upflip.com/academy. The link is literally right there. You need to type it in, sign up, and Brandon and I are going to go live there in 3 to 5 minutes to answer every single question that gets asked. It's going to be a good time. We're going to keep the party going, I guess we can say. So yeah, join us over there. Everyone, you guys have all been amazing. Thank you for the questions if you aren't able to make it over, but generally you guys have been an amazing community as you always are, and you know that. So we're going to dive over to the Academy and answer some questions there. So we will see everyone there. Thank you all for your time.
Great.
Perfect. See y'all in a moment.